Motorsport lovers, and especially to you Dakar fans, and welcome to, I think it's Tuesday night, and if it's Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, it must be Dakar. Thank you very much for joining us. Tonight's special show, we have a new face on my left. It's my left hand.
It is your
Sasha Martinengo. Welcome, Sasha. And special guest tonight, the head honcho, the main man, the big cheese, the big wheel of the world-class racing team, WCT Engineering, Stuart Thompson. Stuart, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule of building cars for the world and joining us.
Thank you, Colin. It's a relief to get away from the place.
You know, I got to say, I mean, we're going to talk Dakar or whatever, but anyway, I've seen Stuart in the pit lane for many, many years. He's the most humble, just carefree, just carries on doing what he's doing. And, you know, when you realize how much responsibility you have, Stuart, I think it's amazing. I think a lot of young people who want to get into motorsport could learn a lot from you.
Well, that's very kind of you, Sasha, and I'm glad I slipped you that 50 before the show. But
thank you.
Euro,
by the way.
Yeah, indeed.
That's a legend, because number one, he's a nice guy. Number two, he drinks beer. Number three, he runs a business that builds, I nearly said shitloads, but lots of cars for motorsport in this country. Yeah. Number three, your company has designed the vehicle that's leading the side-by-side in Dakar this year, and you come and join us at Stewie, how do you handle all of this varied life you live?
Well, I think, Colin, primarily we have a good team at work. And, you know, as you know, Achim Bergman he's the sort of technical heavyweight in our business. And then, you know, aside from all the guys on the shop floor, between Achim and I and Justin Allen, who essentially runs the workshop, it's a very good team, and we complement each other, and it really works well. And I think it just makes going to work something to look forward to every day, which is half the battle won, isn't it?
You touch on working well together. Every time I've been to your shop, there's a vibe, there's an enjoyment. It looks like people are happy to be at work, and you seem to gel as a team.
I think we do. Most of the time, we obviously have our moments, but for sure, it's something that I'm very happy with and very proud of, is that we've got a team that work well together, and hopefully that leads to, I guess, primarily sustainability and hopefully some success.
Now, Dakar, this is the first in many, many years, first part of January, that you're in South Africa. You've built cars that have run in Dakar for many, many years, and some of them are running over there at the moment. Why are you here and not at Dakar?
Primarily, we are here because we have 5 GTC cars to build over this period. Sure. And you can't build the GTC cars while you're coping with dust storms in Saudi Arabia. So it was largely a business decision to get the GTC cars built. We are very keen to see the GTC championship grow. We think it's important that...
I think we're all keen.
Yeah.
Any motorsport lover is keen to see, and not just because we're trying to blow smoke up GDC. We have to have a top-class formula that's F-quick and that is difficult to drive and difficult to engineer.
Yeah, Colin, I agree with that. And I think also there is no option. So if we can't make GTC work, then we're stuck with, and certainly without being in any way derogatory about it, a super polo type formula, which we're going to see this year and is very exciting as the new GTC 2 class, or GTC Light, I think it might be called. But to me, I think you hit the nail on the head. We need fast, exciting cars that all the top drivers in the country aspire to drive.
And that find difficult to drive.
Yeah.
And when you see drivers, I mean, in the pit lane, we've seen Michael Stephen, who's probably the top saloon car driver at the moment in this country, apart from a ginger, but he doesn't drive that much anymore. But Michael Stephen, when he's worried and he's working hard to try and engineer the car, you know it's not easy.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, to get that last bit.
And certainly it's been very competitive. You know, you look at last season, it was super competitive throughout the season, Sasha. I think more so than the previous 3 seasons. So certainly the potential's there. We just need that little bit of momentum, I think, to get it to the next level where it becomes sustainable and a little bit more exciting.
No, agreed. No, I think, listen, guys like yourself, so committed to it. It just shows, you just need others. You just give it a little bit of a firecracker, and I promise you, it'll get its momentum. It's still early. Well, I wouldn't say early days. I think it's fourth season that we're going into now for GTC, and it's a fantastic formula. In the sense that they bespoke built cars, and I think that's what's so wonderful. They're not just your car that you take off the road; they are purpose-built race cars, and I think that's what the drivers find the most exciting about. It's this is a proper race car.
I think sorry to interrupt, Colin, but from our perspective at WCT, we like to go racing with racing cars. So again, whilst Polo Cup is fantastic and is arguably the best series, it's fantastic and it's wonderful. But they are modified road cars.
Yeah.
And certainly what we like, and where I think Premier League or top tier racing should be, is with purpose-made racing cars. And whether
100%.
that's cross-country rallying or circuit racing, I think that is important.
In case you thought you tuned into the wrong thing, we are going to talk about Dakar, but we love motorsport and all cool things racing. And Stewie here is, I don't know if you missed that part, 5 new GTC cars being built, and we'll talk a little bit, we'll touch on them a little bit later. This is an interactive show. I have assistants with ours, and somebody who knows what he's doing. There's the eye man. Show us your eyes. So you look intelligent.
Hold on a second. I put the glasses on there.
Yeah, now you look intelligent.
Well, I wanted to look more like Colin because he's a very good-looking guy. But the problem is I can see like the camera over there, but if I look at my laptop, I can't see a thing. So here we go. Hey, lots of people saying hello this evening.
What you got?
We got Jan Hauser, Tel Aviv, all the way from Tel Aviv. Nice to have you. Quentin Menno. Good evening, looking forward to the show. Peter also watching us on YouTube, and of course we'll get through on Facebook Live.
The bottom line of it is, if you've got any questions, particularly for Stu, and he's been to many Dakars, he's built many cars for Dakar. Have you got that picture, Henk, of all the cars together? Just to give you an idea of the diversity of WCT engineering and what they do. There's a Lamborghini and an Amarok and a Toyota and what's that, the black and blue one? It's a Ford.
It's a M Sport Super 2000 Ford rally car, which is...
That car's got a history.
It
because
has.
That Ford in the privateer hands, it beat the factory team in the rally championship?
It did. It won 3 out of the 5 championships that it was campaigned in.
It's quite an achievement.
It was fantastic. It was the usual story about all the ingredients coming together at once. A very determined driver, a very capable co-driver, and the right backing, which without which nothing is possible. And it was great. It was a really fun time.
You see, I told you he's so humble. Stuart, I want to get to Dakar. I want to ask...
Before we go there.
Oh, okay.
There's something I
want to ask about the building of the car.
No, before we go there.
Oh, all right.
We lost a hero, a mega man, a huge influence in South African motorsport and in motoring circles today. Giorgio Cavalieri sadly passed away this morning. And to Giorgio, may you race on and have fun in the sky with the rest of the drivers who you join. To his family, friends, and the greater motorsport and motoring community, and indeed his business family, our condolences are with you. Giorgio, thank you for the joy that you gave us while you were here, and one day we'll all meet up and have some fun again. Rest in peace, my friend.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got to echo those sentiments.
Big respect for Giorgio.
Yeah, very, very sad day.
Yeah.
Very, very sad.
It's coming to us all. Some of us are grayer than others.
Yeah, some of us. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, Colin, Giorgio was the first guy I ever did some work for in motorsport. He had an old Chevron sports car that, as a kid just out of school, I helped rebuild. So, for sure, he was very close to my heart.
Yeah, me too. I mean, just to relay one little story. He always knew that I was this massive Ferrari fan, and
no, really?
Yeah, but he used to fight with me. So when I used to be on the TV show and I wasn't speaking fondly of Ferrari, he'd WhatsApp me, and he'd go, "Sasha, Why are you speaking of Ferrari like this? I go, Giorgio, you got to be objective. You got to do
Máquinas que
this.
força.
And then, go to all of the Ferrari days, and he basically made me an honorary member of CEFAC. I mean, I don't own a Ferrari, I never have owned a Ferrari, but I'm like this honorary member of CEFAC, all thanks to his generosity and kindness. And that's what I will always remember Giorgio for.
Generous man who
Gentleman,
was larger than life.
100%.
Go well, my friend.
Yeah, you will be sorely missed.
Right.
Okay.
Dakar. You had a question.
Yeah, Stuart, I've been watching Dakar for years and years and years, and I sit there and think, how do you sit and go about building a Dakar car? We all know that as soon as you get impediments like sand or pieces of paper or plastic that affects the airflow of the running of the vehicle, I mean, we just know that can lead to catastrophic failures and those kind of things. How different is it when you are playing in sand dunes the whole time to designing that car and ensuring that you don't have that many obstacles in terms of sand, for example?
Sasha, sand specific, there are a few sort of aspects to look at, and I guess in terms of the traditional South African cross-country car, one of the biggest issues with a live axle car, which is where the whole genre of South African cross-country cars have developed from, the live axle is not ideal in the sand because of in technical terms, it has such a huge amount of unsprung weight on the rear axle. It tends to axle tramp, which is not good for traction. So that is the reason why, obviously led by Hall Speed and certainly we and Neil Woolrich Motorsport in terms of the South African manufacturers have followed suit. The cars have all now become independent rear suspension cars. And that's purely for the sand aspect of the Dakar. A few other points, obviously it needs good cooling because traditionally the cars are working very hard and not going very fast. So the airflow is at a minimum. But largely, if you take a South African cross-country series car, the biggest hurdle is overcoming traction in the sand and cooling in sand dune conditions.
Yeah, so, because that's the one thing. These guys are ramping over sand dunes and they're getting lots of sand that comes into the car, and I assume in radiator vents or whatever. How do you prevent or how do you dispose of that while the car is actually in action?
Well, a few things. Obviously, the car should be properly sealed so none of the sand gets into the cockpit. And pretty much everyone now mounts the radiator in the back of the car, so the radiator draws air from the roof, so it's not prone to sand coming in through the grill.
What about the air filter?
Obviously, the air filter needs to be efficient and needs to, again, the inlet to the air filter is now normally on the top of the bonnet, so it's not like it's sucking air from low down that can get choked up with sand or any other sort of debris. So I guess it's all just development that leads to better and better solutions.
And I've seen some of the cars, they run a massively long, generally Donaldson air cleaner.
Yeah, and again, that stems from Donaldson's involvement with the South African series. And Donaldson were always more than a sponsor. They were very, very involved with the development of air filters that worked. And certainly we do, and I think everybody does. I'm under correction, but I think everybody does still run Donaldson air filters in Donaldson-derived air boxes. So
it's kind of a huge tribute to another South African company. And if you look at the impact that South African motorsport and motorsport companies have had on international and motorsport, with the huge number of vehicles that are running, let's just say in Dakar, with power brake and the locally developed brake systems that are won a stage yesterday on the Century and are in the Toyotas and on the Volkswagen what's the correct word? Amarok. That sounds like some kind of a wiki song. But before we go there, let's just have a quick recap and get to the results.
Hold on,
before
we go.
What? Hold my bus. Hold my beer.
Stuart Gregg says, Stuart, time to build a Cooper, bud. We'll come visit.
I'll hold him to that.
Is he talking about a Cooper, an old age Cooper car?
Yeah.
Because that's another part of your passion, is historic racing cars.
Yeah, it is, Colin. It is a passion of mine, and it's something that I really enjoy.
We're on a time budget, and I
Yes.
think what we should do is one day get Stuart back on the Wednesday show that we will run weekly, carry on running weekly, and have a chat about some of the stuff, and maybe even go and visit you in your workshop and see some of those cool old cars. They're nostalgic. You can feel the old racetracks coming out. Anyway, enough of that. Dakar 2020, yesterday's stage. Again, Century Racing go out and they win in a South African car. Great, absolutely fantastic thing. And I just pulled out one of the things that came out of it. There was 15 minutes or 40 kilometers of flat out stage. And when we say flat out, it's not flat and left and absolutely pinned. Mills on straight, 100% throttle.
Okay, I've done the maths on this.
Hold on. Have you got higher grade maths?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done the maths. He's done the maths, so he's the clever one here. Sasha, what does the maths say, Sasha?
So if you're traveling at 200 k's an hour over that 40 kilometers flat out or whatever, 12
He's
minutes.
already done the maths in his head because he's
an
an
engineer.
Yeah.
He's 12 minutes to at 200 k's an hour. If you're doing 180 kilometers an hour, 13 minutes 20 seconds. So it's a minute and 20 that you lose just in the speed of 20 kilometers, over 40 kilometers.
So
You get it? I mean,
I worked out. Sash,
Okay.
thanks for explaining it so plainly, so
Yeah.
that dwarf folks like me can understand. So when there was a picture somewhere, and we spoke to Glyn yesterday, and he said that it was yesterday, Hank. It's been a blur, that they did some aerodynamic tweaks. They took all the junk off the top, try and lose drag, and they gained 5 odd kilometers an hour.
now, I'm glad you brought that up because Stuart mentioned just now the radiators are at the back. Those roof rack type system on the Toyota is there to push the air in, to help to assist the cooling of the radiator. Now they've taken that off. Surely they must have been a little bit concerned of overheating.
Well, it's obviously a balance, Sasha. They'll take off as much or minimize the opening as much as they can to retain enough cooling.
Okay.
So it's obviously a very well
Yeah,
thought out.
In a non-on-air discussion, Glyn did mention that the temperatures there are relatively cool. They're not hot like South America. So this morning when they woke up before a sparrow farts o'clock, it was something like 3 degrees. So it's proper cool, and it was sort of low 20s. So I'd imagine you don't need...
I mean, the crazy
that
thing
much
is
air.
we all just sit there and think Saudi Arabia desert must be boiling all
It's
of the time.
snowing in the north.
It's the middle.
This part.
It's the middle
top
of
left.
winter. It's the
Yeah.
middle of winter over there. So I mean, it is. I mean, I don't know if it was Tay Perry or Kirsty Lunt, but I saw them wrapping plastic around her legs to seal herself so that she could stay warm.
Because
It's
wind
quite
is
amazing.
cold.
Yeah.
And obviously two things. A, the ambient is very cool, as you've identified, and B, the stages have been very, very fast. So not only is the ambient cool, but the cars are going quickly on average. I mean, the average speeds are very high.
Very good.
And as such, more airflow, so you need smaller ducts. So
Okay.
There's stuff happening on this thing that I don't even understand.
I think
what's going on.
the teams. I mean, it's first time that the guys there are in Saudi. I think this is going to be a fantastic learning curve for them. They've had Africa before, South America, and don't forget that would have also been pretty hot because it run at the same time, but it is Southern Hemisphere. Now all of a sudden, total Northern Hemisphere, different kind of terrain. And you could prepare your car as much. I think for 2021, it's going to be quite a lot of differences in the spec of the cars, how they're built.
I'm hearing that they need to do some serious work on the route and make it a little bit more not flat out for 40 k's.
But I mean, it is their first time, So I suppose.
my understanding is that the FIA becomes very uncomfortable with any average speed over 100 k's an hour.
Well, today's average speed was 130.8.
I know.
And that's been consistent over the course of the rally. So
I mean, people don't understand how fast that is on sand.
Well, we saw
well,
some
Sasha,
of the...
try and maintain 100 k an hour average on your way to Durban.
Yeah,
It's not easy on a highway.
on a highway.
So
Now you're
it's,
doing 130 k's on sand.
I can maintain 100 k's an hour in my Suzuki Swift with the aircon on and still do like 20 kilometers per liter. Piece of cake, man. It's skill. It's driver skill.
Not many like you, Colin.
Yeah. Let's get to the thing.
We've
got stage map of today. Wadi Al Dawasa to Harad. 410 k's of racing. If you've got a map, you can show it. If you haven't got a map, don't worry about it. There's rocks and canyons at the beginning, and at the service point, this is for today, at the service point of 156, you'll see there's the first thing where the green line goes underneath the red line. The red line is the racing line, and the green line is the service crew line. That was at 156 odd k's of racing, and believe it or not, even though the maps are, that's in Saudi scale, they've got different mathematics there and geographers than we have. The story was that the rear tires of NASA's Bucky were FUBAR, and they needed some changing, so they changed them there to carry on. But let's go to the bikes first. Okay. And one of the riders who I think I've got immense respect for is Daniel Puig, who has diabetes. And last year he was the first competitor to take part in Dakar, or diabetic competitor to take part in Dakar. And Novo Nordisk, who make a whole lot of insulin, and which you need for diabetic, they have sponsored him and enabled him to go riding to show that just because you've got diabetes, you're not disabled. Anyway, so he didn't finish last year, and on the fourth stage this year, he broke his engine. And I'm not Ian Pepper, I won't say what kind of bike he's on. And then they put a new motor in at the end of the fourth stage, so he carried on under the Dakar Experience thing. And sorry, today he broke another engine. So we go to the bikes, and
Shame.
Ian Pepper will be very, very happy with us because Pablo Quintanilla drilled everybody. Well, he didn't drill them. He beat Toby Price by 154, Joan Bereda in a Honda, which gives us, it's building up to, can Honda hold on? Can they hold on? And it's a different battle in the cars, but we'll get to that. So you've got the Honda winning, and well, we'll see where it goes. Layla Saints was 22nd, first female, and Tay Perry, our little pocket rocket. When we say little, she's about this high. Where's the camera? About this high. 5 foot. She just makes 5 foot.
She just manages to touch the ground on her toes when she's on her bike. I mean,
it's
I've
unreal.
just been so fascinated by her and Kirsten Landman.
And she's got a skill of, she says,
and it's
that
not just because they're girls. It's just because they're South African that I've really just.
We've got more South Africans coming up. I'll tell you what, we can have a whole bloody South African. We could almost have our own race. So Tay was 51st, 63rd, Kirsty Landman, one position better than yesterday. Stewie Gregory was 75th, and Graham Sharp 80th. So in the overall, it is Honda, Husky, KTM, Honda. Have you got the overall results there? Come on, you're supposed to get it there. We had a production meeting before that. There we go.
You got to believe that
Ricky Brabeck.
It's with 3 days to go. It's for him to lose.
You know,
I mean, this is now the real cutting edge. This is where you've got to play that game of chess with your competitors. You've got to hope that you don't have mechanical issues.
But he's got a nice cushion.
Yeah,
Sasha.
20 minutes is a lot.
Yeah. Going to be hell of a interesting, because it'll be the first American to win on a bike, and Honda haven't won since forever.
Sure.
And they've been close, and then things have happened. But how cool is this? Years gone by, KTM was the first 97 bikes home in the race. And I don't think anybody else ever risked it not to ride a KTM. Nothing about them, but it's, you know how guys bitch and moan about Mercedes winning in Formula One all the time?
Yeah.
We want a little bit of unpredictability. So it's Husqvarna, KTM, and Honda. From a South African point of view, Ross Branch, who won a stage earlier, had a bit of a disaster of a stage with his wheel.
Sorry, is he South African or Botswana?
He's South African. We claimed him.
Okay.
Because you know, South Africa, we own the world.
Yeah.
And he's Southern African.
Okay,
he's
there we go.
Botswana. But yeah, so he's 25th, and he's 35 minutes from 20th. Stu, you know, with 3 days to go, 25, that's not a lot of time, eh? We're hoping for a top 20. We shout for our boys.
Where did he finish last year?
That's a great question, Stu. Our production department will let me know. I think he finished 17th last year, if my Alzheimer's hasn't got on to me. Leia Sands is 17th, Tate Perry 54, Kirsty 60th, Stewie Gregory 1 hour 35 off the lead in 68th. Oh, and in the total, we're still going to go back to what he's 12th in the Mali Moto. They are crazy. Motel Originals, 12th overall, and they do the race just out of their bucky. Graham Sharp, another one of our Southern Africans, 1 hour 39 behind in 80th position. There are 107 bikes still in the race, and I did count how many there were in the beginning. It was 190 something, but I didn't.
And I mean, we've still got 5 Southern Africans or 5 South Africans or 6 South Africans.
That's because we rock. We rock. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 plus 1.
5.
It's 5. You're the higher grade.
Yeah, 5. We got it. Listen, I want to ask you, there's a great question here from Sean Fassfeld, and it's something I don't know, so hopefully either of you know. Do the vehicles have a weight restriction? If you sit, and I'm just talking cars now, if you look at the minis of Carlos Sainz against the Toyota of Al Nasser, the Toyota looks much bigger, much heavier.
Yes, it is. So there are minimum weights that are very strictly governed and policed.
Okay. And power?
No, the power is controlled by an inlet restrictor.
Okay.
So in theory, all the power will be very similar in theory. Obviously, the cars are developed to maximize that.
Okay.
But there are a different set of regulations for the two-wheel drive buggies and the four-wheel drive
buckies.
Yeah,
and then
trucks.
throw in different engine regulations for diesel and for petrol.
Yeah.
And that's where Stewie's talking about.
But for sure, Sasha, all the top cars will be running very, very close to the minimum weight.
All right.
So
and that's about 1850 kilos?
It is for a four-wheel drive.
Okay.
A buggy is 200 kilos lighter than
200
that,
odd kilos. So, allied to much more wheel travel, because that's also governed, is how much wheel travel you're allowed.
All right.
Buckies are 250 and buggies 350.
Yeah, the buggies, so-called, no, the buggies, I think, are more than that. I'm not sure, but the
cars, sorry, they're not buggies.
Yeah, the cars are up to 280 now.
280, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
all right, thanks for that.
So we go to car results for today. It's really cool that questions are coming in. Guys, even if the most complicated question, Stuart knows everything about everything.
Or even if it's honestly a question that you think is silly. I mean, I'm also learning about this. I mean, I love Dakar and I love anything motorsport, but it's not my forte completely. But it's it's great to learn about it. I mean, listen, the fact that we've got so much South African representation in the Dakar, and we have had for quite a few years.
We've got people in the cockpits and on the saddles, and we've got a huge number of mechanics. For instance, South Racing is run Scotty Abrams in Germany, son of Arthur Abrams, great South African motorsport guy. You've got your vehicles that are running there. The Toyotas are designed and run there. The Century, the Amaroks,
it's amazing.
South Africa rocks. Right, so let's go to stage results for today. And it was a slugfest. And at the end of it, there's just 15 seconds. NASA has, for the last 3 days, has been on maximum attack. Pin it. So he's just 15 seconds behind Stefan Peter Hansel, who wins. Yassir Seerdin and Kuzmich Alex in the Mini. And I think it's important to mention the co-driver. So it's NASA and Matthew Baumel. Fifth was Carlos Sainz and Luca Cruz in sixth position. And I just want to go back to Stefan Peter Hansel and Paulo Fuizo. This is their first race that they were going to run, or that they are running together. Peter Hansel was going to run with his wife as the navigator. She got injured, so she couldn't do that. So he calls up Fuizo, who's from Portugal.
Yeah.
And his French is not so good. And Stefan Peter Hansel's Portuguese is not so good. So they speak English. And right at the beginning, this was a big thing about could they make it together? Well, they're winning stages.
But I mean, it's quite amazing. It was a story after, I think, the sort of pre-race stage. They went out and whatever, and he said it was quite. Peter Hansel came out and said it was quite disconcerting for somebody actually talking to me in English because I've never had it before. So they've had to break this barrier.
I'll tell you what, they did bloody well today, and again the navigation has been super.
He's
super
not
tricky.
a bad driver, Stefan.
Eighth, Janelle and Alex Haro, and ninth, Fernando Alonso, and he doesn't get enough mention, Mark Comer.
Yeah.
The name you will be familiar with. We spoke about KTM's. Mark Comer has won gazillions of Dakar. He was also route director and director of Dakar. Great guy. Evening briefings in South America, pretty cool. And to see him, two Spaniards, rookies, ninth overall, nearly winning the stage yesterday. Oh, ninth on today's stage. Kind of impressive, eh?
Well, for sure, Colin. I mean, Fernando, I don't think could ask for anyone better in the cockpit with him.
Yeah.
And I dare say to a large degree, neither could Mark Comer. And a bit of a dream team, you know, both Spaniards. Fernando
Both
with his
champions.
Yeah, indeed. Fernando with his undoubted driving ability and Mark Comer with his probably peerless understanding of Dakar. So what a team.
So it brings us a top 10, 5 Toyotas.
Wait, hold on. I just want to go on that
stuff.
as well. No, just on the whole Fernando and Mark thing, you know, stage 2, that huge wheel issue, etc., etc. And I'm sure it took Mark Comer and, you know, the rest of the team to sit there and say, hey, Fernando,
I'm laughing because the water sprinkler went off and there's sound that goes. It's funny. It's funny AF.
And I'm sure Comer sat there and said, oh, you know what, this is not a sprint. And if you sit there and look, and we're going to go into overall results. So just when you look at overall results and you think of the time that he lost on that stage 2, this could have been a completely different race for Fernando Alonso. But racing's racing.
If, ands, or buts
No.
are for
I'm just-
things and.
Yeah.
I forget there's a saying.
Yeah.
So yesterday's winner came in 22nd today, Matthew Serradori and Fabian Lurkin in the Century CR6. Turns out their power steering broke early on, and you need power steering in those things because it's got massive. Oh, the other difference between buggies and four-wheel drives is the size of the tires. So you can have huge tires on the buggy, and they've got, the buggies have got automatic or tire inflation and deflation on the go, and you don't have that on the thing. And I need to focus on these results. We'll get through them. So the reason they came in 22nd, power steering failure. Danny Roman's 13. We told you we're going to follow the Borgward. I mean, it just, don't you remember the old Borgward? I think so. Anyway, my mind goes.
Focus.
Thomas Bell. Thomas Bell had his best Dakar stage today, finishing in 32nd. Henny de Klerk was 40th. And as of yet, there is no news as to why. I think they finished 40th. They were 58 minutes off the winning time. Winning time just over 3 hours. So that brings us to the overall in the cars. And what it means is that we said that there was a squeeze, and it's tight. It is squeaky tight. 24 seconds behind Carlos Sainz is Nasser Al-Attiyah and Mathieu Baumel.
I think it also has been mentioned that Nasser got a 3-minute penalty today.
Because he wouldn't let Peter Hansel pass.
All right. So had he not got the 3-minute penalty, he'd be in the lead. But isn't this just so fascinating?
It's brilliant.
9 days of racing.
Stewie?
Hey? 9 days of racing, and it's
never been this
24 seconds.
No, it's fantastic. And, you know, particularly for me, knowing the stress that comes with it, going into the marathon stage tomorrow, the guys must be absolutely, you know, at the end of their tethers, because the marathon stage, which normally happens earlier in the rally, is literally going to make or break.
Can we hold this to the end? This is their second marathon, because there's a whole lot of other stuff that it's a different marathon to what we've had before. Let's just quickly go through the rest of the bits that jump out and highlights for us. Everybody wants to know Janelle de Villiers. He's in 6th position, 57 minutes behind. Serradori and Lequin are 8th in the Century.
I think, Colin, sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
but I think Might just be worth pointing out that I think Janelle is battling with a bit of an injury. He's got a sore neck, which is or neck shoulder, which
neck
is
shoulder, and it's really causing trouble because
so that's
and it's. To be fair to Janelle, you know, when he went this year, I haven't seen him looking this fit and strong and mean and lean.
And off the back of winning in Morocco.
Absolutely.
You know, I think as
this
you say,
was going to be a big one.
He's certainly at the top of his form.
Yeah,
so.
without a doubt. But carrying an injury, we know, what's that game where they play with a round ball and they lie on the ground all the time?
Soccer.
Yeah, if the Oaks get injured, they can't score goals.
Now,
what you got there?
I just wanted to go ifs, buts, and whatevers. Alonso would be basically racing Janelle had he not had his 2.5 hour problem in stage 2. Because he's 3 hours 17 off the pace, Janelle's 57 minutes off the pace, take off 2.5 hours, you're basically the same time.
Sure, Sasha, and you know,
that would be phenomenal.
Indeed, but then you've got to take off all the time Janelle lost
100%.
too. You know,
no. I'm just saying, you know, as opposed to
we can only go on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So 10th overall, which is a mega milestone because I think Glenn is on the record that he promised Toyota Europe and Toyota Japan or not promised, he committed to Fernando believing that Fernando would finish in the top 10. So from where was he? He was 32nd on Wednesday last week. It is last week, eh? 32nd last week. He's hauled his ass up to 10th with some brilliant driving. And now we'll talk to when we get to the end of it. The rest of the South African interest, 29th is Henny and Johan Smallberger, 36 Thomas Bell, Patrick McMurran. There are 67 cars still in the race. Ignacio Casali wins in the quads, and their quads they're still running for 4 days. And now we get to a part where Stuart has got a particular interest in, that's in the side-by-sides. So Blade Hildebrand, Francois Cazalet, they won from Mitchell Guthrie and Olaf Loan in the, what are they, OT3s, which
overdrive
are
cars.
Overdrive prototype, I mean full-on race vehicles. And your man, Casey Curry and Sean Berryman, they came in the KTM in the Can-Am in 3rd place. Now, that vehicle was designed in your shop.
It was. It's a car that Achim designed.
Henk, can we show the blue pictures of the birdcage?
Yeah, we have just about finished the first one that we've built, but South Racing showed a big interest in it, and we were unable in the time to build the numbers that they required, so we agreed to license the design to them, and they have built 5 of them, and they're going very, very well. In fact, leading the category,
and
first and second
leading overall, which I think is absolutely
well done.
Brilliant. In the Russians, I mean, in the trucks, the Russian category, Andrei Karganov in the Kamaz he's winning by 38 minutes. So the Russians
those guys crazy. Didn't Anthony Taylor drive a truck a couple of years ago?
He was,
but I think it was a support truck.
Yeah, he was in a chase vehicle.
These guys are. I mean, you watch the footage of these guys in these trucks. It's. I mean, that's just. I think that's another level. There you didn't get A+ for high grade.
Let's talk about the marathon, and then let's go back to some of the vehicles. Tomorrow is Herod to Shubatia, and it is the first day of marathon, the second marathon stage. It's 534 Ks of racing, 45% dunes, and around about 30-odd% of gravel. There's no rocks according to the book, but you never know. So it's massive dunes. And the idea is that the service crews are based in Harad, and the race cars go out and they go to Sabatia and they sleep in the desert and they're looked after, and you can't go near there. In years gone past, you could go to the town where they were and they'd come out of Park Firm and you could still talk. Not this year. So they're all going off. The organizers have got a truck and the sleeping bags and mattresses and all the rest of it. Are loaded in, so the drivers, some of them who are used to. How's Conrad Rotenbach going to handle it? He's not going to sleep in a hotel. The Oak's going to sleep in a sleeping bag. He's going to go, Mom! Throw all his toys out the cot. So drivers are there's a big tent and they're all going to sleep together. Axel snore, it's going to be magnificent. And Stu, talk to us about what work gets done or the preparation that's going on for these cars. They're going out, most important 2 days of their lives, of the race. What do you do to the cars?
Well, Colin, I guess the fact of the matter is you do nothing differently, because at this level, the cars never leave carrying any sort of mechanical problem or any sort of niggle. So there's actually nothing you can do. But all it does is it adds to the stress, because you know that the car has to somehow get through a night without your TLC on it. So there's actually nothing you do differently, apart from just making sure that everything is absolutely perfect. And you just have to hope.
I suppose also...
The car's in the hand of the crew, so...
And they have to do all the work on it with the
sure.
parts they carry. Or, most importantly, if you Nasser Al Attiyah, that Bernard ten Brink is carrying for you. So they'll strip
for sure.
the fast cars out.
Yeah, as you know, in the Dakar, competitors are allowed to help each other.
Yeah.
So whilst there's no outside assistance allowed, any competitor can help. So there could be, in theory, 3 cars crewed with ace mechanics full of tools and parts to look after their number 1 car.
And that's why you've got the big service truck, the T4s?
Yes.
Service trucks that will arrive with spare car in it.
So whilst the mechanics and engineers don't get to see their car, it's in reality far from unsupported. And it's also far from ideal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The driver and co-driver, they've had training on fixing bits and bobs on, lots of stuff on the car. And we saw Fernando replacing wishbones and drive shafts and stuff like that. He's never did that in his Formula One career.
No, sure. But in reality, all the top runners, and whether that's Carlos, Stefan or Nasser, them and their co-drivers are going to be getting a full night's sleep, while the guys who are designated to do it will be looking after the cars.
100%. But it's an extraordinary time of Dakar now. Every day is incredible, but to come down to it with 3 days to go and 24 seconds.
Crazy.
No.
It's magnificent.
I think, as you said earlier, it's almost unprecedented.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine the sort of the excitement in the Gazoo Racing team, and indeed in the Mini team.
It must be incredible.
This is shall we say, amongst the largest motorsport events from a marketing point of view ever. We know that Toyota get more marketing return or measurable whatever, more marketing impact out of Dakar than they do out of the World Endurance Championship. That's the kind of where it is. So then, day after tomorrow, which is Turds Day, they come back to Herod. Sasha, what you got? Questions?
The one thing that we haven't mentioned is weather. All of a sudden, we've got talk that there are huge sandstorms expected this evening and snow up in the northeast of Saudi Arabia. So this also throws.
Are you listening to yourself? Snow in Saudi Arabia.
I know. It's bizarre.
It doesn't compute with what
work.
as a
but
geographic.
But this also becomes, there's only 3-minute intervals that these guys go from each other. So in a way, you want to be out there. I don't know if you want to be out there first if there's a sandstorm. So it's going to be very difficult for these teams, and they're just the way that they manage these next few stages if the weather has an impact.
What would you do if you're running one of the top cars and you wanted to? I suppose you just manage what you've got, eh?
Yeah, Colin, I think you've got to roll with the punches and just do what you think makes sense at the time.
Coming back to, okay, so that's about it. They're going off on their own. More questions?
I've got a couple of questions. Yeah, from George. He says the right people to ask, what kind of budget is needed to run an SSV at Dakar? Does anybody know?
Well, Sasha, without getting into rands and cents, it costs about a third of what it costs to run a T1 car.
Okay.
So obviously, you can do it the Works South Racing way, or you can do it with your mates in a Sprinter. But it's far more cost effective than running a T1 car.
And those things aren't slow. If you put them all into the overalls, last year a
12th.
side-by-side was 12th. You put them all in now, I think the top side-by-side's running 21st at the moment.
Yeah,
but
obviously a race like this with such high average speeds,
It's gonna benefit.
But in
them.
the
It compromises,
dunes,
no,
yeah.
it compromises the side by side
Oh, side by
because
side,
they only
they
go at 135 k's an hour
Okay.
maximum. In the dunes, they're as fast as anything, and if it gets really tight and twisty, you know, there's some European Baja races where side by sides win. So
It's kind of the
they're
way of the
remarkable
future.
vehicles.
And you're going to be building them for the South African cross-country series.
We will certainly have one running. You know, Simon Murray, who's done a lot of circuit endurance racing with us, has bought one, and he's going to campaign it. So it's quite exciting.
And there are a couple of them running at the moment.
One last question. I don't know. BF Goodrich tyres. Are the teams allowed to use whichever tyres they prefer?
You're allowed to
For
use
Dakar?
whatever you want.
Whatever you want. Okay.
I haven't read the rules for this Dakar. Traditionally, it was if you're a graded driver, you have to nominate a tyre. In other words,
Okay.
then you have to run on the same tyre throughout the event,
Yes.
which I think
The
still
same
holds.
size and tread pattern, but you can change compounds, I believe.
But you can.
Well, there were options, but it was very restricted. You can
But I
run
mean,
whatever
you can-
tyres you
exactly. So,
like.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can run a Dunlop, a
Yeah.
Bridgestone, a
But you
Pirelli,
nominate
a
at the
BF.
beginning.
Yes, yeah, okay,
And
that's
and
fine.
if you outside of the seeded, which is the top 30,
Can run
you
whatever
can
you
run
want.
whatever you want.
But,
Okay, that's from Quentin.
but the fact is that the BF tyre is the only logical choice.
Okay.
And despite the guys having lots of puncture issues, which was due to perhaps a slightly too soft sidewall construction, in this year's tyre, they are head and shoulders above.
And
everybody
also the
else.
first part of it, it was massively rocky and different rocks to South American rocks. They were Arab rocks.
For sure.
No, they're different. They don't.
Arabian
Yeah.
rocks, perhaps.
Sorry, Arabian rocks.
You know, they're older. They've been around a lot longer.
Yeah,
They're
they're sharp.
harder.
They're clever.
They're
They're
harder.
sharp rocks.
Yeah.
Stewie, the GTC cars you're building, another 5 of those. Your side-by-sides you're building. Plus you're going to be running who are you running in cross-country?
Our team of last year was the Atlas Copco team of Chris Visser and Gary Berthold. Chris Visser in the FIA class up against the works cars. And, you know, just an unashamed plug. It's still a highlight that we managed to win the Toyota.
Look at that,
Desert
eh?
race. Yeah, that's Gary in his T car. He was very competitive last year.
And as a privateer team, you beat the factory team on twice? Was it?
No, only once. But it was in the Blue Ribbon event, which was quite fun. But nonetheless,
But it was still a Toyota that won the
sure,
Toyota Desert race.
it was indeed.
Yeah.
It's in a bit of a state of flux because after a long involvement, Atlas Copco look like they've withdrawn, which is obviously massively disappointing and follows the pattern in South African motorsport. So we're still not completely.
That pattern of sponsors coming for a long time in whatever sport, they do their marketing around a sport and then they move on. It's not
Fair
because
enough.
the sport's bad.
Fair
it's a thing.
So you know, to answer your question, I think that we'll still run the 2 Hiluxes for Chris and Gary, and side by side for Simon Murray. So we'll have a busy old year.
And do you need a bigger transporter to take them all to the events? Or can the side-by-side sort of just sit on the...
Just drive it onto the roof.
Yeah. Just sort of wheelie it up,
Yeah.
bomb, bomb, like a trail bike.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And Raceday.tv will be doing quite a lot of work at the South African Cross Country Series this year. I'm really, really looking forward to that and some of the other things that we're going. Sasha, have you got anything else, or is it about time to go home?
No. Interesting question. Tomorrow, the sort of drive out into the desert. Does that include the bikes?
Yes.
Is it the bikes?
The whole lot.
Everyone going to be sleeping
Yeah,
out in the
that's
desert.
it.
There we go. Okay.
So
Fantastic.
there's
Hopefully that
around-
answers the question.
70 plus 60.
That's
There's
from Mario Landman.
There's
I don't know if
about-
it's Kirsten's.
That's Kirsty's dad.
Oh, hello, Mr. Kirsten's
How's it,
dad.
Mario?
There we
So
go, Mario.
there's about 400 people that are going out there. To
That's
go
so
and
cool.
keep in it's like, I was going to say father-son night, but not quite. But you know,
Yeah.
driver, co-driver, bonding night. Go and
Something
sleep with the snorers.
Listen,
Should be fun and games.
I think it's just terrific, and I think where we are in terms of the Dakar, of how close it is, it's unprecedented.
Join us tomorrow when we follow the fight, the boxing match, the tension. 24 seconds. It's little tiny bits. Stuart Thompson, main man from WCT Engineering. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule and sharing your insights to us. Our doors always, well, now that it's closed, but I mean, you're always welcome to join us here anytime you've got something to share. We really appreciate your openness and the knowledge that you share with us. Thanks a lot for joining us.
My pleasure, guys.
Yeah,
Always nice.
and everything you do in motorsport, keep it going, and yeah, we'll always be there for you.
No, thanks, Sasha.
And to my co-pilot tonight, Sasha, thank you very much for co-piloting.
Thank you, Cole.
I think you might have passed the grade. We'll have to talk to production
we'll have to
and
see.
see what he goes and see where we go. Sasha won't be with us tomorrow night, am I right?
No, but I'll be here Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday, and we'll, that's going to be, I can't absolutely wait. Thank you very much for joining us on Raceday.tv. We'll see you, we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening. Be fast, be safe, and have fun. Thanks a lot for watching. Cheers.